Hello, and welcome to the Art of Being Self-ish. I am Dr. Sims, a licensed psychologist, and on this channel, I discuss ways that you can take care of yourself or be selfish so that you feel nourished and filled enough to take care of others. Now, while we will be discussing topics related to mental health on this channel, this is not a substitute for therapy. So as I've been mentioning the last couple of weeks, it is Minority Mental Health Awareness Month, and we are focusing on ways that you can get mental health treatment. If you're not already following me on social media, definitely check me out there. I can be reached on Instagram and Twitter at @be_self_ish and on Facebook at The Art of Being Self-ish. So today, like I said last week, if you resonated with any of those reasons why you should be seeking out treatment or therapy, then I'm going to talk about how you can find a therapist. A lot of people don't really know where to start, and that can also be a barrier as to why they're not getting treatment. So today we're going to walk through a few different steps for you to find therapy. If you have insurance, then I'm also going to talk about some ways that you can get access to treatment if you don't have insurance, or you just don't want to use your insurance and you want to pay out of pocket. So the first thing is, if you do have insurance, I would highly suggest calling your insurance provider and finding out what your mental health benefits are. Sometimes it's couched under the term behavioral health, and so those are kind of the words that you want to be looking for, but find out what they cover, what your copay is, what the co-insurance is, and whether or not that's a viable option for you to get treatment. If you do decide to go through your insurance company, then there are a couple of ways that you can find a therapist there. You should have some kind of app or some kind of website that you can be looking at to figure out who the providers are that are in network for you. And even if you decide to see someone out of network, there are also opportunities for you to be reimbursed for some of those things as well. So if you're looking through that website, you see someone that you might be interested in, you can hop over to Psychology Today, and a lot of therapists are on Psychology Today. So that's kind of the second way that you can find another therapist if you don't want to go through your insurance. You can also find a therapist on Psychology Today. Simply type it in. There are lots of articles on there and resources on there as well, but you can put in by your zip code who you want to see for a therapist. Now, as you're looking through Psychology Today, they will be telling you information about who those therapists are, where they're located at. You can see their website. You can get a plethora of information about them. It also talks about the insurance that they take, what their costs are out of pocket, and who are the populations that they're typically treating. So you get all of this information just right there on this one resource. Now, let's say you don't want to use your insurance. Psychology Today isn't necessarily giving you the information that you want and or need. You can also just simply call a mental health office, any kind of clinic. Some counseling centers will do this, and just let them know that you're looking for referrals and ask them what the best places are for you to be looking for those referrals. Now, on the other side of that, there are lots of just internet-based resources that you can be checking into. So one of them that I found, particularly for Black women, that I found to be very helpful is Therapy for Black Girls. So if you go to that website, she's compiled this entire directory of Black women therapists across the country. The benefit of doing that is there are also virtual options for you. So if you've heard about Talkspace, you know that we're moving into more virtual platforms for receiving therapy. I'm a big advocate for sitting in front of someone and having that kind of interaction, but sometimes that's just not possible for you, or the best fit for you might be someone you can do virtual therapy with. So there are lots of different options for you to get access. But she has a list in pretty much every state, or majority of them at least, where these therapists who have been vetted come to her. They're on that directory, so that's a really good place for you to look. Again, you want to go back and check your insurance and make sure that it fits in there, but a lot of these therapists will also just take the money out of pocket, and some of them offer a sliding fee scale, which is something that you can also ask about if you're concerned about prices. Another resource that is online, if we are talking about low out-of-pocket costs, is openpathcollective.org. They are a list. It's a great resource with just a lot of different therapists. Now, one thing about them is that you may not necessarily be able to find a Black clinician on there. It just depends on the area. It depends on who submitted their information and what services are being offered. But if you're in a space where you just really need to talk to someone and that's not a priority for you, then that's a great resource for you to check into. So another resource that you want to be open to looking into, or another resource that you can look into, is NAMI. It's the National Association of Mental Illness, and they have a lot of resources as well in terms of finding a therapist, articles about mental health treatment and mental illnesses, as as well as different support groups that you can be a part of, and just ways of getting involved in your community if that's something else that you're interested in doing. Also, lastly, generally most counties have some kind of behavioral health board or some kind of behavioral health commission where they offer certain services to the public and to the community. And so that's another place that you can look into if you have questions about getting treatment. One other word of advice, and sometimes this is a bit of a barrier for people, is seek out places who have internship programs. So anyone that does any kind of practicum trainings, any kind of internship, because the catch for that is they typically can't charge for services. And so if you're concerned about being able to pay for those, I would really encourage you to seek out someone who maybe isn't licensed and who is doing their training being supervised by another clinician, because you can often get lower cost services. When I was doing my postdoc, I was charging like $10 a session for therapy, and some people couldn't even afford that, and so I was doing free therapy. So definitely be looking at that. Don't be opposed to people who are in training, because they're really skilled, and they're actually some of the best, because it's right after school and they kind of know all the things that they learned in school. So definitely don't be opposed to that, and it's a really great way to get services that maybe are too expensive or you can't really afford at the time. So one other thing that I want you all to think about as you are searching for a therapist is to know the difference between a therapist or a counselor, a psychologist, a psychiatrist, and what your PCP can do for you. So a lot of times people will go to their PCP, their primary care physician, go to them for a doctor's visit and be talking about some of these symptoms, and that doctor can prescribe antidepressants, anti-anxiety medication, or a variety of different medications to treat mental illnesses. However, a psychiatrist is going to be a lot more specialized in doing that. They have a lot more, it's more of a special focus on mental illness, and so they'll be able to better understand what those mental health challenges are. A psychiatrist is not the person that is typically going to be doing therapy with you. So if you're wanting to do weekly sessions with someone, meeting with them for about 45 to 50 minutes, you want to either talk to a therapist, a counselor, social worker. Those kinds of titles are the people that you're going to be able to do therapy with, and so psychologist also falls into that. So those are a few tips about looking for a therapist. I hope that that is helpful in starting on this mental health journey for you, getting you some mental health treatment if you need it, or you can just share it with someone who might be looking as well. So that's it for this week. I'm looking forward to seeing you all next Self-ish Saturday. Make sure you do something today to take care of yourself.